So you fired your missile, they've launched at you, you're now maneuvering and you're trying to notch the missile.
When you launch, a semi-active missile, you need to try to crank again, maintaining the look, and if the other plane do not shoot, when you turn your plane to left or right, the optimal range in the HUD will increase.
We'll assume that the enemy is launching at us, is because they always will in reality. They'll always be launching at us. So we'll assume the worst case scenario, which is what's going to happen. So we fired our missile at them, they fired our missile at us, and straight away we've started maneuvering to try and burn off the energy from that hostile missile. And you said you want to notch the missile. What does that mean? Turning to the side?
Yes, try to put the missile at your 9 or at your 3 o'clock.
Gotcha. And that's for radar purposes, I guess?
Yes. And in fact, you not need to notch the missile itself like an AMRAAM. You need to notch the radar of the other plane.
Yeah.
So in case of hard modeled planes like a Mirage, you can notch their radar more easily than non-clickable F-15.
Gotcha. Okay, and so we want to do this notch, but we also must keep the enemy plane within our radar, our 60-degree radar limit. So how do we do that then?
You need to make a long spiral. Is that the word?
Spiral or roll, and we'll watch you doing it in a minute, but
During the spiral, try to move the antenna.
Move the antenna. That's interesting. I've never heard of this before.
In order to keep the contact, light the contact.
Yeah,
even if your nose is not lighting.
We'll go over that after this fight. Okay, so they're flying at each other. They're going to go as fast as they possibly can to get maximum energy on their missiles. They're going to dump their fuel tanks if they've got them. They're going to be at the same height in this example to make it easy. Fortuner is cranking to the side. Everyone know he's cranking to the side.
In the flanker you can use an autolock. Now the plane autolock, and when I turn, I have the optimal range to fire.
Fired the missile. And now he's cranking to the side of the target while keeping him in lock. Okay, Marvin, you try and dodge that thing.
But I think he do not shoot a missile.
No, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, you've beaten the missile, Marvin. Now turn around and try and re-engage. So that's the main bit of the fight done, basically. The rest, it just becomes a bit of a scrap at this point, obviously.
Well, he's in a pretty defensive position.
Roger.
I shoot again, but the point is they make the maneuver when he launched to a missile.
Roger.
So, because I launch now a very high energy missile, and it's very difficult to avoid.
Lovely. So, what I noticed, first thing is the flanker fired the missile and then immediately cranked to the side. So that was so the missile was still guiding, but cranking to the side there reduced the enemy's missile threat, basically. That was one thing.
I can show the both maneuvers in a F-15 and in a flanker. If Hanso pick F-15, because I usually play with him.
Yeah, I know. I noticed.
So
I noticed that before you shot the missile, you also cranked to the side. What was that for?
I put in a defensive position if the other plane launch a missile, so I can
gotcha, right.
react
So
more quickly.
Yeah.
That's why I turn my plane. I expect a launch. So
So just to clear that up for everyone, as well as cranking to the side after firing the missile, it was also cranked before firing the missile, which reduced any hostile missile threat to him. So just like you do with the active missiles in the F-15. And then as soon as the shot was on, he was at his ideal firing point, he turned to the enemy, fired the shot, then started cranking again. So that's good. Okay, you guys, you SUR guys, go and do your thing and we'll watch.
I will tell Hanso.
So same thing, burners on, going as fast as he can. So again, when he's about 30 miles, I expect him to crank to the side again. Fortunero is now cranking to the left to avoid any hostile missiles.
It's more for speed rise, speed up.
Oh, so as to give you some extra speed as well.
And reduce her range, missile range.
Missile range, right.
At the same.
Right, now when he's in an optimal firing range, he's going to turn hot onto the target again. All of this time he's keeping the enemy locked.
Now I obtain fire range, but this is not optimal. When I turn head on, I have the optimal range.
Right.
Calculation.
So it's all about timing that, right?
Yep.
Okay, he's turned on now, and Fox 1 now is cranking to the side as much as he can, but he's keeping the radar lock still, so the missile guides. And the enemy has also fired an AIM-120, which I didn't mean to give him, but he's got that. So you've got a Fox 3 after you, by the way. So Fortinero did a looping manoeuvre to avoid the Fox 3, but managed to keep his nose pointing at the enemy enough to maintain the lock. That was interesting. Fox 3. Yeah, I don't know.
So at this point it's very difficult to evade.
Yeah, because you're close. Good dodge. Well done. He dodged 3 Fox 3s there. And they're merged. Fox 1. And he's got the advantage. F-15 goes defensive.
Shit.
Beautiful. Vertical merge. F-15 turn in. That flanker is really manoeuvrable. Fox 2. Lovely. So I didn't mean to give the F-15 Fox 3s there. But it was a really good example there. So he did everything we talked about, fired the first missile at an absolute optimum range. The enemy fired a really good missile, a Fox 3, so he managed to jink that, to dodge that and roll it away from it while keeping a lock. Enemy launched another missile. He managed to roll away from that and avoid any Fox 3s, and then once he was in close, it was a turn fight, which the flanker will usually win anyway. So that was pretty. That's a pretty good example there. Okay, has anyone got any questions?
No.
Cool. So let me just, because I'm learning here as well. So let me summarise this myself. So we're going to blast in as fast as we possibly can. We're used to that. We're going to crank at the beginning to get us some extra speed and to make us harder to shoot. At what we consider our optimal range, we're going to turn into the hostile. We're going to fire 1 missile. We're not going to salvo a bunch of missiles because it's a waste. We're going to fire 1 missile, and we're going to expect to be shot at, so we're going to start jinking then and turning while keeping the enemy in lock, which is a mission to do in itself, and keep on with that basically, and follow up until the enemy is either dead or you've shot him down. So there's no turning around like there is with the old Fox 3s and the other technique. You've got to point out the enemy all the time pretty much, so that's going to take some getting used to. When he was manoeuvring, he always had his nose pointed down, so he was always trying to keep energy high. So I guess it would be tempting to put your nose up whenever you're doing a defensive manoeuvre, but you've got to keep that nose down, otherwise you're just going to stall out straight away and then you're a dead man.